What makes a video game nostalgic? Is it bugs and glitches? No. Is it paywalls and microtransactions? No, certainly not. Absolutely not. Is it because it's the coolest game in school? Or maybe it's something as simple as the soundtrack that is just able to permanently infiltrate your brain and make you want to cry like a little child every time you hear it. For me, it has to be a combination of a few factors: age, playtime, and influence. Whether it's influence in my personal life or the gaming industry as a whole. There's something about this form of media that is able to not only hijack our dopamine receptors, but it can leave a long-lasting impression on us due to the interactive element that games have to offer. Of course, I, just as everybody else, can look back fondly on a movie or a show or even a book you read, a song you maybe listened to as a kid, but I think the reason that games are able to stay with me more long-term is because of those few factors that I listed, as well as the fact that you're the main character and you spend so much time within them. Any of these three things can be applied to all of the games that I'm going to mention, but let's just break them up into categories to keep them concise. I mean, I'm trying to structure a video here. Age. Tell me how old you were when you first heard this. Or perhaps this. Music to my ears. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I remember playing Crash Bandicoot. This has to be my earliest memory with the game and probably the first one I ever actually played. Around the same time, I was first exposed to GTA Vice City, which I certainly should not have been, but nevertheless. Boom, Sly Cooper. Can't forget about this one. Another complete banger from my childhood that I got hooked on at a really young age. It is because I was so young and because it had been imprinted in my brain that these are just good games no matter what. I might not even necessarily have that much fun if I went back and played them in this day and age, but I know that they're good because the nostalgia tells me so, and I remember having so much fun. You see, sometimes game developers try to take advantage of the games we experienced when we were younger because who doesn't want to relive the glory days, right? And sometimes it works out, like Crash Bandicoot the N. Sane Trilogy, a very solid remaster of the original 3 Crash games, which I played through a few years back and enjoyed very much. Sometimes they try to rehash a game, put it together haphazardly, and look to capitalize off of that sweet nostalgia, while ultimately under-delivering. I am of course referring to the GTA Trilogy remaster. I mean, what is that? Playtime. I remember being particularly into a lot of different FPS games when I was younger, TPS games as well. Does anybody call third-person shooters TPS games? But there's a couple in particular that really hit that nostalgia button right on the head for me. You know, the ones back in the day that literally made me forget that going outside even existed. I've talked about it in one of my earliest vids on the channel, Modern Warfare 2. Who doesn't love this completely broken mess where everything was overpowered? It was just so good. The biggest part as to why it is significant to me has to not only be the fun factor of it, and that it was the biggest shooter of its time, but that I'm pretty sure this is the most time I have ever put into one single game. And right alongside MW2, the next best thing for me that I had put so much time into has to have been Gears of War. The first 3 specifically, because Judgment was kind of rough. I don't even want to know how many hours played as a kid I had between the Gears games and the old CODs, but it doesn't matter because I wouldn't trade having these games as part of my childhood for anything. Influence. Alright, let's just cut to the chase on this one. Skyrim is one of the most undeniably successful games of the 2010s. It is so successful, in fact, that they seemingly release it every damn year on a new platform. It's been released about 48 times. Can we get the newest game already, please, Bethesda? We're almost there. I was such a little fool when Skyrim came out. I completely overlooked the game for the first several months of it being out because at the time all that mattered to me was COD. Boy, that couldn't be more far from the truth nowadays. Once I got my little hands on Skyrim, I was totally hooked, and that initial enjoyment of my first playthrough is something that can never be quite captured again, but rather looked upon and remembered fondly. The exact same sentiment could be said about a game that if you're in your early to mid-20s, you'll automatically have to be nostalgic about. It's almost a requirement. Why do you think I referenced it earlier in the video and put it in the thumbnail? Well, because seemingly everything in the gaming industry is somehow linked back to Minecraft. You just can't escape it. There's a reason that it's the best-selling game of all time, and even thinking about the very first time I played it instantly triggers something in my brain and makes me want to turn back time. The level of influence in the industry as a whole, the sheer seismic blast that the game has left, it's comparable to something that not even J. Robert Oppenheimer could have imagined. Well, I'm not sure where I was going with this video other than taking a trip down memory lane. This is of course a very small sample size of games that are influential and nostalgic to me. I would have to write out some sort of ancient scroll and delve back into the deepest memory banks to talk about all of the games I've loved over the years that I'm nostalgic about. This would be like a 10-hour video if I really wanted to keep going. The main message is that there's always a time and place to look back to the classics, or perhaps even go back and play them. 2023 has honestly been one of the best years for gaming in recent memory. I mean, so many really good titles have been released this year, and there's many more to come. But no matter how good games continue to get, a lot of the ones that are now far behind us will always be some of the most important ones.